Hey, welcome back, everybody. Time once again to meet our community, the Hispanic business community here in Orange County, powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and led every week by our maestro of the community, the man who knows everybody, John Gutierrez.
Yes, welcome everybody to another one of our amazing podcast shows here at our Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Community Podcast Show. Of course, I'm your host, Senior Vice President John Gutierrez, and with us today, we can help save you a lot of money while going to college and getting a degree. Today, we have with us Mr. William Deed, who is the campus director of Oak Valley College, where he has led the Santa Ana campus for the past 2 years. In his role, he oversees campus operations, recruits students, and manages a dedicated team of 2. Please welcome to our show, Mr. William Deed.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
yes. Thank you for being here. I think it's important that we share with everybody that we are here to save you money, right, William?
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
today going to college, it's not cheap, right?
Not cheap at all.
It's quite the challenge,
Yeah.
and can put really people deep in debt.
Absolutely. You know, I talk a lot about this when I go to events about how much it costs to go to college. I mean, it's our second leading cause of debt in our country besides mortgage loans.
You said how many trillions?
1.2 trillion dollars.
$1.2 trillion in college debt money in our country. And I love this because Oak Valley College is here to help change that, really make a difference in our community. And they're based in Santa Ana. They've been in operations for the past 2 years, right?
2 years in Santa Ana.
Yes. And
Yes.
you're also in the Inland Empire.
Yeah, we're in Rialto. We have a Rialto campus as
How
well.
long has that one been there?
Since 2016.
Okay, so quite some time. How is that one doing?
Doing well.
Okay.
Doing well. Yeah, they've got about 60 or 70 students on campus there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's going well.
What made you all decide to open in Santa Ana?
Well, our president had a vision for Santa Ana for a long time, for the Orange County area. And he started putting it together years ago, talking to people, going to events and all those things, and just kind of putting some feelers out there. And yeah, he launched it 2 years ago, you know, and I came aboard, and man, it's been a ride. It's been really cool.
Let's real quick share with people a little bit about yourself. It's always good for our viewers and our listeners to learn about our guest. Tell us a little bit about you. Where did you grow up, and how did you end up at Oak Valley College in this great mission and helping, of course, students do this in their lives?
Yeah, so I was raised in South Central LA. Went to high school, went to Locke High School. I don't know if anybody.
He says that so like relaxed. South Central LA. I don't know what years these were, but we did talk about our ages off the show. I thought I was older than William. Turns out he's a little bit older than me.
Yes.
But South Central LA in the 80s was no joke,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I'm correct.
Yeah,
Right?
it was pretty rough. I lived right next door to a dope house. I remember when I was a kid. It was
Wow.
It was pretty rough.
Just so you know, Paul Roberts might not know what a dope house is, our producer over here. But basically that
Is
means
that like it's my grandma would say? My grandson would say it's a dope house. He must think it's really cool.
Exactly. It doesn't mean that it's a really cool house. A dope house means there was a lot of drugs.
Absolutely.
In South Central LA, I mean, I grew up basically in the 80s and 90s listening to a lot of rap music, which had just kind of taken off, right? And I remember Boys in the Hood, the movie.
Yeah.
It was based, I think, in South Central
It
LA, right?
was. It was.
And it was really telling the story of what it was like to grow up in those neighborhoods. And I know because I grew up in Santa Ana, and in the 80s and 90s, it was very similar to those areas. I don't know how bad in comparison, but a lot of drugs, a lot of gangs, and I know as a kid, a lot of us, it was quite challenging to go to college, right?
Absolutely.
Because we didn't have the means or the resources, right? What
Yeah.
was that like for you growing up in South Central LA?
Yeah, it was interesting. I came from a time where my mother raised 8 kids by herself, and so it was more of just, hey, get a job, be good people, and that's all our mom talked about. She never ever mentioned college. I mean, but
Yeah.
She only had a 7th grade education herself, so she didn't know, and just growing up in that environment and just kind of living life every day, not even really thinking about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's tough. And so growing up in that environment, at what point in your life would you say high school or getting out of high school did you realize that you wanted to be more involved or pursue a higher level of education?
I watched a lot of TV when I was a kid, and I don't.
What shows did you watch?
Man,
I like this. I like this because I was sharing this with the other day with somebody. Like, I grew up watching Bonanza,
Yeah.
Little House on the Prairie, Pee-Pee Longstocking,
Yeah.
The Little Rascals. Right? I don't know about you. What'd you grow up like? What?
those are all my shows.
Really?
Happy Days.
Happy Days.
Laverne,
Oh, the
Laverne and
Fonz.
Shirley. Yeah.
Laverne and Shirley. Yes.
Those are my shows.
Those were the shows. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Starks and Hutch. Right?
Starsky and Hutch.
The
Yeah.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah.
The other day, I posted a video or photo on my Instagram and Facebook, and I put a song from the 80s, and it had a cartoon character of Voltron.
Oh, Voltron.
Do you remember Voltron?
I do remember Voltron.
And then I had all these people comment, well, what about He-Man and G.I. Joes? And they went through all the characters of all the, but isn't that what the 80s and 90s were?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
There was no internet. There was no social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like the TV was the way we received information.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the radio, of course.
Yeah. Honestly, to me, it was the best time of life. You know.
It was educating us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you grew up watching these, and did you ever say to yourself, like, hey, I want to get out of South Central LA. I want something better for my life, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was always a dreamer when I was a kid. I always believed I would do more. I just didn't know how that would come about. And so I just wanted more. I remember when I was in school, I had a teacher in 7th grade tell me, you're not going to be anything when you grow up. He told me that I wouldn't accomplish anything. And I wish I could find that teacher today, because it's amazing how my life has turned out. I've been married for 30 years. I got 2 great kids, and man, life is wonderful, man. It really is. It's a real blessing. And
Paul has a question. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Paul.
I'm reminded we had a city council person, I think for Anaheim. Yeah, maybe it was Santa Ana. And the woman said the same thing. She was in high school and she was thinking of applying to college, and their counselor said, don't bother.
But you know what? I have to say, I've heard this a lot in shows and off the show, and I think I may have even heard it myself growing up. But I also think a lot of us grew up in the 80s and 90s where I have to say, if you look back, I felt bad for teachers
Yeah.
because they were dealing with a lot, like the drugs, the gangs. I can tell you, I got jumped maybe 2 or 3 times growing up
Wow.
by gangs because I had to walk so far to school that, getting to school beat up, and now you're a teacher trying to teach a class, and you got kids walking in, I don't know, on drugs, whatever it is, or getting beat up, or, there's just a lot going on. So
Yeah.
I can kind of understand why some of those teachers back then were like, they would look at some of us like knuckleheads and be like,
Yeah.
you ain't gonna,
But how horrible to tell a young child you're not going
But you know
anywhere.
what, Paul? I also look at it like a double sword. It was almost like I challenge you, right? I dare you to make something with your life.
Yeah.
That's the way I looked at it when people said stuff to me like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I
Right.
think it really sparked me, to want to do more. And when I turned 18, I moved out. I moved to like the Cerritos area and met a good friend that's still my friend today, over 30 years. And he was a college student and lived with his parents, both mom and dad, and going to school and doing well. And I saw that, and I was like, wait a minute, I want to do that. And so I started going to Cerritos College, and I spent a lot of years there working on my associate degree. I think it took me like 6 years to get an associate degree.
But you got it done.
But I got it. And then I went on, got my bachelor's, and then 2 years after that, and got my master's 14 months after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you, for those of you viewing and listening to us, if William was sitting next to you right now, you could see William has a lot of patience. And most educators do, or involved in education.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to have a lot of patience. And you were exactly like that. Remember the famous cartoon, the rabbit and was it the turtle?
Yeah, the tortoise and the hare.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, right? We're just talking about cartoons, right?
Yeah.
And it always told that story how the rabbit was in a hurry, right? And he was just like, at the end, he ended up hitting a tree and here comes a little, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But he'd win at the end.
Absolutely.
He'd get to the finish line. That was you.
Yeah.
You got it done. No matter how many years, but you got it done.
Got it done. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so you go and you get this great education. What happens next?
Well, I just started working. When I got my degree, I was like, well, what do I do now? Now I've got a degree, and let's figure out what to do. And so I started working for a nonprofit as a high school history teacher. Spent about 3 years there teaching history. And then I
Nice.
went into sales for 10 years. I spent 10 years working for the 7-Up Soda Company. I was a sales manager for them.
Well, wait, 7-Up?
7-Up.
Okay, as a Latino, just so everybody knows, 7-Up is like our grandmothers and mothers like medicine. We use 7-Up for everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? You something's wrong with you? Alka-Seltzer and 7-Up. Drink it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
7-Up was big growing
Yeah.
up in the like 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
I remember. And still is, right? But
Absolutely.
wow, that's great. So you did sales for that whole industry, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I was there for 10 years. And then I saw this job come open for Oak Valley on LinkedIn. I was on my lunch break at 7-Up. And I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm going to apply for this and see what happens. And so I filled out an application and
Mm-hmm.
online and submitted it. And the president called me like 2 days later. He's like, let's talk.
I
Okay.
got to ask because I see this all the time. It's hard to change careers, particularly after you've done something for a while. Why do you think they gave you why didn't they just say 7-Up? What does this have to do with college education or?
Yeah. I think what got him interested in me was the fact that I had taught for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was a school administrator at that high school as well. So he saw
You
that.
forgot to mention that. A
Yeah.
school administrator.
Yeah, I
that's
was administrator
that's big.
as well.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
responsible for a lot of things.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
just the students, the operation, just like you're doing
But
now,
this
right?
is a business college. Did they like the fact you had real world business experience? Because that's the slam many parents and students have about business schools. They're teaching from a book, not from experience.
Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about our college is that we hire professors that have run businesses. So kids are getting that real world. You know, book knowledge is always great. It's wonderful. But to get someone that's done it is a beautiful thing. And most of our professors have ran successful businesses. So that makes a difference, you know, and that's what we teach. We teach kids how to start a business, run a business, and be successful.
You know, that's so interesting you mentioned that because one of the words I've been sharing with a lot of people, our listeners, our viewers, people that I'm always out through the chamber is the word we're hearing a lot. The words we're hearing a lot right now is workforce development and resilience,
Yeah.
right? For whatever reasons, we're hearing those two words a lot, meaning the new generations that are coming up to work in the work environment must get more of these resources on the workforce development side.
Absolutely.
And the resilience sometimes isn't there, right? And so this is great that at your Oak Valley College, these are some of the things you're implementing, right? Because of the professors that are teaching these classes, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's so many things we're doing that that are really cutting edge. You know, our president is a real visionary, and I respect that, and I love that about him. You know, we take kids, a group of kids, every month to different businesses to meet CEOs. So they literally have to sit there and do a pitch with a CEO, and we do that because we want them to develop a network of people. So when they graduate, they're not like me when they graduate and trying to figure out, well, what do I do now? They've got a list of business cards where they can call the CEO of In-N-Out Burger or Chick-fil-A and say, hey, I just graduated. Can you give me a job?
Yeah.
And they're able to get jobs.
Yeah. Do you know a gentleman in the 80s and 90s by the name of Mr. A.C. Green?
I do.
Okay, A.C. Green and I'm not trying to name drop, but him and I are good friends.
He's always name dropping in this show. He's
And
always
we were
name
doing leadership camps over in Santa Ana at
Oh, wow.
my alma mater, Century High School, before the pandemic. And I'll never forget when he said to all the kids there, you know, your net work is your net worth,
I love that.
right?
Yeah.
Which we've heard a lot, but the way he said it, when he was telling all the kids at the leadership camp, was, you know, it reminded me a lot of my dad when he would be like, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are, right? Earlier, you mentioned that you had a friend who he was like somebody you were like, wow, that's great. His family and
Yeah.
right, like he was one of your good. He played a huge role in your life. It seems like,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And now I think, in essence, you're in an environment where you're providing a platform, right, for young kids to have that same opportunity,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
What didn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, the mentoring part is the biggest part for me. You know, being able to, because I teach history there too, so I'm in the classroom with the students, and I get to talk to them. I find out their struggles and things that make them happy, and finding ways to motivate them. And you know, a lot of these kids are into, because of the technology we have today. I mean, they've got a computer in their hand all the time, so they can pretty much do anything they want. And to be able to get them to focus, to say, hey, this is what I want to do with my life after I finish college. And then for us as educators and leaders to be able to line them up for that, man, it's a great thing.
I had a meeting yesterday for lunch with somebody from the Santa Boys and Girls Club, actually from the Boys and Girls Club in Orange County. They're members of ours. And she mentioned to me how there's like 500 of these high school students in their program
Wow.
that are looking for these kind of opportunities, like internships, mentorship, job opportunities, right? Because they're good kids. They have good grades. They're smart kids, and they're very high tech,
Yeah.
knowledgeable. But now they need us as mentors, right? Business leaders,
Absolutely.
community leaders, right? To provide that bridge in the community.
Yeah.
Yes, Paul.
I got to mention one thing because I think you're onto something here. In today's world, a kid does not need to go to college to learn the facts. It's in his hand. It's on the
Oh, of
internet.
course.
I can
Yeah.
figure out how to change a tire, or what year the country was founded, or name the 50 states and their capitals. I don't have to go have somebody teach me that anymore.
but those-
But I have to learn
Yes.
more than the facts. I got to learn a lesson. I got to learn an insight. What do I do with this data? That I can't get on the internet. For that, I need a mentor, a teacher, a coach, a guide.
And not only that, wouldn't you say, William, that today, a lot of these young, smart, I don't want to call them kids, I want to call them young adults.
Absolutely.
A lot of them are lacking the people skills, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I heard on the radio the other day that there's a class now to teach them how to actually make a phone call, because they're so used to texting all the time that they're not used to making a phone call and actually having a conversation, which to our generation seems kind of awkward.
They don't live in a face-to-face world. They live in a
Exactly.
face-to-screen
So,
world.
so are you seeing that? Are you hearing that at this level, at the college level?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when I get text messages from students now, I mean, it's a different language, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? What does this mean? I got to look it up. I'm an old guy, so I got to try to figure out what they're saying. And I mean, I have 2 young kids, but yeah, I mean, and that's absolutely a skill that we have to teach as leaders, to teach them to, hey, put your phone down, man, and shake this guy's hand, and look him face to face, look him right in the eye when you talk to him, and just those kind of things,
It's funny. My wife and I have been watching this Netflix series called Younger, and it's like a comedy kind of, and it's about a woman who goes through, unfortunately, through a tough divorce, and she goes back into the workforce, right? And so in essence, it's about workforce development, right? And she goes to all these interviews, and they don't want to hire her because she's considered old at 40 years of age. So she has to lie about her age and change the way she looks so she can fit in at 25, 26 years old, right?
Yes.
Because they didn't want to hire her. And in that whole series, you learn that she's actually teaching a lot of the younger kids, a lot of the younger people she works with, a lot of the stuff that we learned in our generation.
Yes.
The people skills.
Love that.
But they're teaching her a lot of the technology and the TikTok and this and that and everything that goes viral. And it's just a really interesting story of the crossing of the 2 generations, right? Or 3 generations.
So 2 things you got to get in as we're running out of time. One, tell me why it's just a business school. You're not teaching French literature or American history as a major. I majored in history. And so why just business? And you got to tell me about this amazing way you save people money.
Okay, so thank you.
Yes, let's do that. How do we save you money to go to college?
Awesome. Yeah. So Oak Valley College, again, started in 2016 with this idea. We started with the 1 major, and down the line, we're going to initiate things where students can go further. We have a partnership with Cal Baptist University, so a student can go on to Cal Baptist with a partial scholarship and go to school there. Once they leave our school, they can go to Cal Baptist and major in marketing, finance, accounting, become a teacher, whatever. We have a student in my class right now that's going to law school after she finishes. So there's absolutely options. You have a bachelor's degree, you can go anywhere you want. So what's unique about our program, again, our program is 2 years and 8 months. Students get a bachelor's degree. They go for 32 months straight, and then they graduate. And how they graduate debt-free is because they still have to apply for the grants. So they have to apply for Cal Grant, Pell Grant, and then we have donor funding as well. So once all that is calculated, whatever's left is worked into like a payment system for the kids. If a child gets approved for Cal Grant A, for example, their tuition is paid for. If they get approved for Cal Grant B, one is based on education, their GPA, and one is based on financial need. So, but
Can anybody apply for this? Because kids are coming out of school with $100,000 in debt.
yeah, anybody can apply, and we have kids in our class. I had to say kids, young adults from 17 to 30 years old or more in our class. So anybody can apply for our school and apply, and get accepted.
And you can go to oakvalley.edu/apply, APPLY.
And how do you do it in such a short period of time? Because today, it used to be 4 years to get a bachelor's. At places like the bigger universities that we're sitting at here, others, not trying to pick on them, but it's hard to get through in 4 years in some of these majors. You can't get the class you want until 2 semesters later, so you got to stick around longer. And I hear it's normed for kids to spend 5, maybe 6 years trying to get a bachelor's now. And maybe you got to work part-time because you got to pay for this thing. It's expensive. So you're saying somehow you've compressed it. How have you compressed it?
Yeah, so a student goes for 2 years and 8 months. So they go 32 months straight. Now,
No summer break.
no summer break. Now, they'll get Christmas, Thanksgiving, and all that. And we also have a camp that we take them to for 3 or 4 days in the mountains as well for them to connect and get together. We connect the 2 campuses, but they go 32 months straight. And the cool thing about it, too, is when you sign up for our school, you get all your classes right up front. So you can plan your life around it. You know exactly when you're going to school, what time you're going, and you don't have to ever petition for a class. You just stay in the program, and you just follow the program. And then you graduate into
And one of the things that it says here that I really like is small class sizes, right?
Yeah.
That's very important that people also know the classes are very small. And the other thing is you have here is on the flyer is schedule a tour, right?
Absolutely.
That's one of the things. If you want to learn more about it, reach out to them, schedule a tour, go look at it, take a tour, ask questions, right?
Yeah.
The more you're informed, the more your kids are informed, the better they're going to be off as far as how am I going to be able to get a good education and not break the bank.
Absolutely.
I'm older than you two. When I went to college, it was just to get away and to be on your own. And maybe you'll learn something.
Paul,
and maybe you'll come out with a
But
skill.
Paul, you went to school when there was like dinosaurs and stuff. So
Absolutely.
that's different, you know.
Absolutely.
I mean,
but it was
yeah.
it was the college experience of living away from home, in campus, in a dorm, in a frat.
It's like you were the Flintstones. You were like, you know, you weren't writing with pencils. You're
And
like,
they weren't really
the
teaching
hammer.
us how to get a job. They were teaching you just life. You learn a little bit about everything.
Yeah,
And so you came out more educated. You came out more, I don't know, you were on your own and stuff. And then you started thinking for a job. Now the problem is you can't do that because it's $100,000 and 4 years of your life, and you come out with nothing but debt. You're in trouble. You're working at Starbucks with $100,000 debt.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also important to note that, you know, everybody has, I don't know, I guess you could say a different situation in place, right?
Absolutely.
We have different parents raising us, grandparents, whatever it may be. It's amazing to see how many foreign students are now, right, in the country, coming from other countries to go to school, right? So a lot of it is just a matter of finding what works for you, right?
Right.
And if small classrooms are important for you, or if there's parents listening, for your kids coming out of high school, this is it. Small classes, right? This is important. It's a small. I also see here it's also Christian college based, faith based. There's a lot of people that right now that's important to them.
Do they
right?
live on campus, or is this what we'd call a commuter college?
No, they go on campus. They go Monday through Thursday from 2:30 to 6. So they go 2:30 to 4, get a break from 4 to 4:30, and then class from 4:30 to 6.
But then they go home or someplace. They don't live
Yeah.
on campus.
Yeah.
Yeah, commuter school, definitely, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, if you wish to get more information, go to oakvalley.edu/apply. You can complete an application if you need to online. You can schedule a tour, right? And then I'm pretty sure you guys are also on social media, right?
We
People
are.
can go see some photos, some videos, right?
Yeah, we're on Instagram as well.
On Instagram? Okay.
Yeah, and I don't have the address.
No worries, no
How,
worries.
how many kids roughly in each class?
We do between our campus right now. We do between 25 and 30 kids every August. We start a program, so we're signing kids up right now for the program.
There you go.
For young adults.
That's it in the whole. So if I was in the freshman class, there'd only be 30 kids in the whole freshman class.
Between 25 and 30. So we do one cohort per year. So like right now we have a cohort going that started last year in August. So we're starting a new cohort this year in August, and we're looking for between 25 and 30 kids.
How many kids were here, you say, in the incoming freshman class?
Well, you can't
5
compare.
grand, 10 grand?
Yeah, you can't compare. You have to look at quality over quantity, right? You're also trying to not only provide an education of, I guess you could say book education. It seems to me you're also learning a lot of life skills, right?
Yeah, I mean, the student to teacher ratio is 7-to-1 in our school. And we do that on purpose because, when I went to college and you went to college, you could walk into a
200 people in one
200
classroom.
people in one class.
Yes.
So it's hard to get individual attention.
Yep.
With our program, every student is looked after. We know them by name. We spend time with them. We do events with them. So, and we do that on purpose so that we can take every single student and help them, guide them into a career or what they're supposed to be doing.
Which is interesting because when you're in high school, a lot of us parents wish we could afford to send our kids to private schools, which for the most part, that's what they provide.
Absolutely.
Smaller classrooms, more one-on-one, right? And so the fact that you're able to do this at a college level says a lot.
Yeah.
Right? You're getting a great education, small ratios of students per, professor, teacher. And at the same time, it's not breaking the bank.
Yeah.
That's important to remember, right?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
fact that they're not, and I love how you said there's also not just the grants and all that. There's other funds, right? Other money
Yeah.
that they can afford, right?
Yeah,
That
we
they
have
can-
donor funding as well.
donor funding. And that's, so anybody out there listening, they can also be a donor, right? That appreciates what you all are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we
Because you're a nonprofit.
we love that. I mean, if someone signs on to our vision and love what we're doing, yeah, that's how we educate these kids. I mean, we want to help them in any way we can, and we do that by providing a scholarship for them.
Well, again, folks, this is Oak Valley College. Live, learn, grow together. Mr. William Deed, who is the campus director there at Oak Valley College. And again, this is a Santa Ana-based campus, and they also have one in the Inland Empire. So if some of you are watching us or listening to us out in that area, there's also one that's been out there for quite some time. The one in Orange County here in Santa Ana has been around 2 years.
2 years.
So, again, reach out, go to their website, oakvalley.edu /apply, APPLY, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Listen, folks, leave a comment. Follow us on our Instagram, OCHCC, or follow us on our Facebook, which many of you are viewing us right now at Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Keep in mind, we also have our big gala, which is Estrella Awards Gala coming up April 12th. We're literally sold out. So thank you all for the sponsors and the supporters and everybody coming out to it.
Come on, we could squeeze a couple more in.
We might be able to squeeze you in. Paul. I don't know.
5 or 6, come on.
We might sit you in the back somewhere. We might
Up in the
squeeze you
rafters.
In the rafters.
You got 700 tickets sold over 700 tickets.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Well, we sold 70 tables, which is basically 70. There's 10 per table, and some tables actually are 12 people to tables.
Put one in the lobby. Let's put a couple more.
I got to talk to the boss. I don't know, Paul. We might be able to squeeze you in. But again, continue to follow us on our social media, of course, our Instagram, our Facebook, and continue to support the show. Leave any comments, anything you'd like us to bring up as a topic. I want to thank again our guest today, Mr. William Deed, and of course, Oak Valley College. Thank you for being on our show today.
Yeah.
And thank you for all you're doing in the community to help our students in the community.
Real pleasure, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
There you have it. Our community podcast show powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Mr. Paul Roberts and OC Talk Radio. Take it away.
All right, there you have it. Another amazing story. You're only going to hear it right here as we talk to our community, because our community is your community here at the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.